What's up, dude?
What's happening, bro?
Alright, can you still hear me? Alright. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Let me get a microphone going. Give me one sec. Input microphone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Alright. Yeah, man, I don't know. Sometimes Zoom is like, so what Zoom does is like it rips the audio directly from the call, so it's like really high quality versus like FaceTime or Skype. Apparently I'm too stupid to figure it out, but I just screen record directly, so I get so I'm recording from my microphone the audio from my speakers, so it's got that like, that like filming a TV kind of audio. But
right,
I mean, it's normally not that bad. I can kind of fuck with it on iMovie. I don't know what happened, man. I was just, Zoom is either or. It's either the best or it's like just now. It was really like, it sounded like Peter Frampton. Like it was like, yeah. So I was like, whatever. But yeah, man. For everybody listening, because I always forget to introduce guests. So, you were from Reddit. I asked because I just clearly just fucking asked random people to do my podcast and anything that tickles my fancy that day. And I was looking at welding and I was like, that's cool. That shit's beyond me. And you were like, yeah, man, I weld. I could do construction. You're like, I used to work on silencers. And I was like, well, fuck it. All right. End the thread. I need this guy. So, yeah, man, why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. What's up? I'm Scott. I'm from Salt Lake, Utah. Ooh. And I've been welding for like almost 10 years now.
Jeez.
So that's pretty much the gist of it,
Yeah. Dude, what got you into it? I think it was Robin Williams was like, I loved my dad. He was like, my dad wasn't your typical hard ass. He was like, I told him, I was like, Dad, I want to be like a movie star. And he was like, that's cool. Go for it. He was like, just make sure you have something to fall back on because he can't move back in. And he was like, so he was like, go make sure you can weld. And so he's like, so Robin Williams is like, so I learned how to weld. I became a movie star, but just in case I knew how to weld. So, I mean, I guess you got that going for you. But
right.
What got you into it? Because that's yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
For me, I actually took it just because like it was a high school class,
sure.
And a lot of the kids in it were just like, oh yeah, the teacher's cool as shit, and pretty laid back. So I did it just to kind of get like an easy A.
Yeah.
And then, once we started doing it, I was like, oh man, this is kind of fun. And
badass.
Like we could do our own projects and stuff as long as he was cool with it.
Yeah.
And so then I turned out and kind of liked it. And I got to the point where I like obsessed over it. It's like, well, I want to be now the best kid in the class.
Fuck
and, and kind of just took over my life. The next year when I was a senior, dropped all my classes and just did welding exclusively. And from there, my buddy was working at this place. It's called Silencer Co. And that's the silencer place. And they were looking for a welder. So I applied and I was super young. I was just a senior in high school,
Yeah.
And it blew my mind, seeing all this stuff, like seeing how they were made. It's just like, this is definitely something I'm into,
Fuck yeah.
And so once I graduated high school, I was working at that silencer place, and they ended up paying for my trade schooling. I got certified through them, and it was just wild. Just kind of how it happened.
Fuck yeah. It just kind of you just kind of rolled with it and it just kept going. Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That's bad. Yeah, dude, in hindsight, I have a biology degree. I wanted to go to medical school. I got into medical school, but I didn't go because clearly I'm a special kind of stupid, turning that down. But one of my best friends from high school, who's as smart as all my friends that went to college and, got into med school or law school or whatever, I literally remember us graduating high school and he was like, dude, fuck college. He's like, I'm just going to trade school. He is easily like in the best scenario financially out of all my friends, including those who are doctors, those who are lawyers. He just went in and just like, man. He was like, I'm just going to learn how to install cabinets. And I was like, all right, retard. And he fucking went and did it. And now he's rolling in it. So shout out Joe. But like,
right.
Yeah, man. So I was just thinking as you said that, like, are there like there's got to be. Are there like different tiers of welding? Because I think like if I were to start, it would be like, let's see if I can like weld two pieces together without like blinding myself or like burning my hands off. But I'm just thinking like all tools, they become more and more specified with higher and higher accuracy and precision. So you get to a point where it's almost like blowing glass. You know, you have like your middle school project where it's like a lopsided egg, and then you have those guys that are making like 6-foot bongs, and it's like, you know,
right.
Gabriel playing a harp, and you can like smoke through the ass or something. But it's like, you know,
right.
It's like they charge a premium, but it's different level, it's different tiers of. I guess that's a stupid question. That's got to be the case, right?
Oh, for sure. And like, there's different processes, and like the most common that you'll see is just as a gun, and that's called MIG welding.
Okay.
That's basically where everyone starts out, and like as you go on with your career, it's like, oh, you're just a MIG welder, you know, it's like bottom tier, whatever.
Yeah.
And it definitely goes up. Like the more technical you get, you can get into TIG welding, and that's super precise.
Okay. Just
like it's money, you know.
Okay.
And once you get to that level, you can basically do any kind of welding.
Fuck yeah.
And like it looks the best, it's the cleanest, it's the best for sure.
Yeah.
And it's definitely my favorite to use. But I don't know, hardly anymore I don't use it.
Really?
I've got a MIG welder in my garage that it's just faster and easier to do. So now it's just to the point where it's like, okay, it's just a home project, bust it out real quick.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
You know, that's kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Once you start welding for a job and you do it every day, then it kind of like just sucks the fun out of it, because you've got your boss, and you've got, you know, deadlines and all this other shit. So it's just like you begin to kind of hate it.
Fuck, dude. Yeah, fuck that.
And like, of course, I still love doing it, but
yeah, definitely.
Every once in a while, it's just like, okay, I gotta, you know, put this shit to the side. I'm done with it, you know.
Yeah, that makes me think of like all those like gaming channels where it's like on YouTube and it's like guys streaming Grand Theft Auto 5 every day. I love Grand Theft Auto 5. That's how I decompress. Like that's how I turn my brain off, like just drive around, blow shit up. But I thought like, man, like if you had to do that every day, like you could take something you love and squeeze the love out of it. It could turn into something absolutely shitty. Like I love graphic design. I've taught myself graphic design. The second I started trying to do like commissions and people were like, I want this, I want that. And like my mind, I was like, I want to do like Marilyn Monroe, like fucking a mummy, like on top of a space shuttle. And they were like, no, I want like a softball league, like go Raiders. And I'd be like, oh Jesus. Like I grew to hate it. And so, dude, I put it down in like November. I'm literally taking like a 6-month hiatus from it because I was like, it started to suck the life out of it, man. And
absolutely,
that's when I started this podcast. But the beautiful thing about this is I will not have a guest on that I don't want to have on, because I was just like, I'm going to grow to hate it. So like the day I don't want to do one, I'm just like, fuck it, I'm not doing them for a week. And then I can just talk to whoever I want. I'm like, I could have on this person. This guy welds silencers. Fuck it, let's do that. So yeah, man, you gotta. How is that? So that has affected your passion for it. Do you do like passion projects at home? Do you fuck with that at home? Like to keep the spark alive, no pun intended, or is it just like, you gotta walk away from it?
I think so. Definitely, like if it's something that I'm into, I'm really into off-roading and shit like that. And so when I'm welding stuff like roll cages or stuff like that, I love it, you know.
Yeah.
Just because it's either for my personal Jeep or, you know, my friends, whatever, then like that kind of stuff is fun. But when it's just like, oh, well, my friend's friend needs this exhaust welded or this little planter box welded, it's like, I don't give a shit, you know. Like, dude, I don't want to be doing it.
I don't,
you know?
fucking care. Yeah. Have you just thought about putting like, because I heard, let me make sure I'm recording. Shit always fucks up. All right, good. I've done a couple podcasts where like I get to the end of it and I'm like, I didn't record that. And like,
oh God.
And because it's not like scripted, it's not like, hey man, can you come back on and we can just like fake that conversation? So like, Yeah, so now that's why I got my phone going too. I record them on like a couple things. Yeah, but I was looking at it. I was like, is this motherfucker not recording? Yeah, dude. There's this guy. I read this book, and it was called The Surrender Experiment, and it was this like hippie guy in like the '90s, and he was just I don't know. I don't know if he was on like acid or meditating, but one day he was just like, what if I just stopped did not stop trying, but just stopped trying to like direct my life. Like whatever's in front of me, I will still do 100%, like give it A for effort. But he's like, what if I just stopped? Because he was like, I was meditating and I was thinking like, this is him. He was like, no one like plans out galaxies. Like no one,
right.
I guess depending on your philosophical views, but he's like, there's no schematics for a tree. Like there are in like DNA, but no one was like, all right, we're going to have roots and then we're going to have leaves and we're going to have trees. And I'm thinking we do something. He's like, this all just happened. And he was like, well, what if my life could just happen? Fast forward, the guy's now worth like $400 million, but like,
damn.
But yeah, he was like, someone asked him to be like a finance professor. He was like, I don't want to be a professor, but he was just like, I'm just going to do it. So he was like, I'm not going to prepare any lectures. I'm just going to do whatever. Like wouldn't wear shoes. He wouldn't. And he ended up doing really well. And then I guess, but yeah, so he built his own little house in the woods because he was like, I just want to go meditate and do yoga. And he was like you. People were like, hey man, will you build this for me? And he was like, I didn't want to, but he was like, the surrender experiment. So I just kept saying yes. It's by a guy named Michael A. Singer. And he's like, I found like a loophole. He was like, I would say yes, but I would just start charging exorbitant amounts, thinking that they would say no. People just kept saying yes. And he's like, fast forward 2 years, and I sold my company for $100 million. And he was just like,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So he was like, and then I retired. He's like, and I went to a Radio Shack. It's like 90s. And he was like, I don't know if this is going off into the weeds. I hope you don't care. I don't have like a schedule with my podcast. But he was like,
whenever you're good.
Yeah. So he like went into some Radio Shack, and he was like, yeah. And the guy asked me if I'd ever thought about coding, and he was just like, surrender experience. He was like, no. Like, what about it? Sold him like an early computer. He's like, so I started coding. Fast forward, he ended up selling like software to like the original like Medicare and Medicaid software website. Like, there's pictures of him.
Wild,
yeah,
man.
There's like pictures of him with like Bill Clinton. It's like, and he was just like, I just kept letting go. He was like, I don't know what to tell you. He was like, he has like a hippie commune in the woods in Florida. He like bought like 100 acres, literally built some weird like church, and his like friends or disciples, like it's like a peaceful cult. And he's like, yeah, I just keep letting go. But that's what he would do, is he'd be like, okay, I'll do it, but I'm going to charge you 100 times the national average. So like if he was a welder, he would be like, yeah, I'll weld your fucking thing, but I'm going to do it for 1,000 times minimum wage, so $15,000 an hour. And people would be like, all right, do it. Yeah, sure. And he was like, fuck. But yeah, dude.
I can't believe it works. Right.
Yeah,
no, I've done similar things like that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like kind of charge, give them a number that's just like, well, I don't want to do it, so I'm going to double, triple what I would regularly do it for.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, okay, well, I need it that bad. I'll pay. It's like, damn it. Okay.
Damn it. Fuck.
Guess we'll do it.
I guess we're fuck it. We'll do it live. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. That's kind of how I got in like November. I was just so sick of graphic design. I was like staring at my iPad there's one day where I just stared at it for like 12 hours. I was like drinking coffee. I was like trying to get going. I was like, I just don't fucking want to do. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to see whatever comes up. And the next day I was hanging out with my friend, and he was like, dude, you should just start a podcast. He was like, you never shut the fuck up anyway. I was like, all right, I guess I'll try to make that. And it's just one thing's led to another. Here we are, episode 91. But like, yeah, man. Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully it will work out. But so I was thinking like with like coronavirus and like apparently have you heard about how there's like a new invasive species of hornets?
Oh God, I've seen some memes about it, but I've not really looked into it.
I looked into it this morning, man. Murder hornets. They're like that big, and apparently they're like flooding into the U.S. It's just like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like January, like dodged World War III, and then it was like wildfires, and then it was coronavirus, and it's like, guess it can't get worse. Fucking murder hornets. But on that note, so we're kind of like slowly entering like a soft There's been like foreplay up to the apocalypse and the inevitable collapse of society. Can you hear my dog, by the way? My dog's barking in the background. I hope you can't hear it. It's like howling. Okay, good. But yeah, dude, it's like you're kind of you're in like a prime spot for the apocalypse. Like not geographically, I mean like in terms of like you can weld. You're gonna be like,
Right.
You got to think, man. If everything like shuts down, you know, you instantly have the ability to like take an enclave of people to like the Bronze Age, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone's gonna be in the Stone Age, and you're gonna be like, I can put metal together. You're gonna be,
Right.
dude, yeah, man. Like, you could do some. Do you ever go to the subreddit Shitty Technicals? Oh, it's technicals are like those like third world country Jeeps with like AA guns on the back. You know,
nice.
You see him in like
okay.
you see him in like Black Hawk Down. It's just like the shitty like old, and they've just got and it's like weighing the back of it down. But that's all like shitty welding jobs. That's anyway. So, what was most interesting about making or working on silencers? Like what goes into that? Is there?
So it's really like not too technical. I found out when I was working there, they've been around forever. Like Teddy Roosevelt had a suppressor, you know?
Fuck
And
yeah.
so it's just like they've been around forever.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people there's just such heavy sides to both sides of it. You know, like you of course have the right saying like, well, it's just an attachment for your gun.
Yeah.
So what? Other people are like, oh God, it's scary. They could be shooting up neighborhoods. It's like,
yeah,
it's not as quiet as you think.
It's not at all.
Know?
It's not
it's
at all.
It's still a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're not going to be shooting it in a neighborhood. The whole point of it, or a lot of the reason that people use it is just to protect your hearing. You know, if you use that plus hearing protection, you're golden.
Yeah.
But you can use it without hearing protection. So like, there's just, I don't know. People are back and forth on it, but it's definitely not like some mysterious science or like a
James Bond
spy tool,
yeah.
You know? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like that.
Yeah. Well, because, yeah, I mean, that's what I guess from wherever I picked up that piece of knowledge. But yeah, I thought I remember reading that it was like suppressors are like, it's so it like doesn't blow your ears out. It's like,
right, exactly.
It's because if you ever go shooting, it's even with earplugs, you're still ringing. You know, it's like if you have these guys like, you know, training 24/7 like Delta Force or like SEAL Team 6 or some shit, they can't be losing their hearing because what they do, exactly. They are the tip of the spear, but they also can't not be training because that's why they're so good. So it's like you got to have that middle ground. But then I started thinking like there's got to be like special silencers or suppressors that like they are for covert action, right? Like they are for, you know, you got to take down a compound at night.
And that's like, we definitely had customers that were, you know, police force and shit like that would come in. And when you're doing like a warranty, especially for those kind of guys, it's like, damn, I bet this is probably taken a life before. Like that's pretty crazy shit, you know, and you're just working on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, you know, that part of it was absolutely cool, you know, but like the average Joe that just goes and gets one, it's just like, oh yeah, here's my badass gun and here's a badass attachment, you know?
Yeah. Here's my weekend warrior thing. Yeah, man, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I've had on a guy named Dale Comstock who's in Delta Force. I think he was the youngest ever Delta Force guy at age 23. But like I've had him on, he's coming on tomorrow. But yeah, whenever I talk to him, every once in a while, I think like the face I'm looking at is like the last thing a lot of people have seen. Like
right, for sure, man. It's like crazy
because he's not a sniper; he's like a door kicker. So like quite literally, his face is the last thing a lot of people see. And yeah, it's kind of psychedelic talking to him because it's like it's this weird like kind of grim reaper. Like he's cool as shit. He's a big teddy bear, but like. Yeah, it's kind of weird thinking about like this is definitely the last thing like a lot of people have seen, you know?
Right,
like,
for sure.
Yeah. Now, do you have to have like, because you have to have like some sort of like license or background check just to above and beyond the normal, just to get a suppressor, correct?
Kind of. So you put in some paperwork, send it into the ATF, and then they review it, and then you pay a $200 tax fee, and then you get a stamp for it. And that usually takes like months to get all that shit approved. I don't own one personally because of that. It's just so much
just pain in the ass
that goes into it. Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not for you. Would you now, is there any like, because I know like working on like certain defense projects, like I know that there's some people I've had on that like worked for the Air Force, did like research with like classified systems, and they're basically kept on like retainer just because they can't have these. You need to get that? I heard someone. Yeah. But they're like kept on retainer because like they don't want them going to work for someone else because they have like classified, I guess, knowledge. Is there any like relation to that? It's like, you know how to make suppressors, or do you not know how to make them from the ground up? Were you like one part in assembly line?
So a little bit of both. On the ones that needed welding, so like most of the rifle cans, there's certain ways they do it, and there's really not that much into it. I wouldn't be able to build one from home. There's just no way because there's so many little machine parts and just little things. Yeah. But they definitely had me sign like a non-compete because there's you wouldn't believe it, but like that's a pretty big industry.
I believe it.
The suppressor industry.
I believe it. In the United States, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're in the epicenter.
So, in Utah,
especially Utah
has another. They have 2 suppressor companies, and it's just like. It's just crazy. But, they had me sign that. And if I came up with any ideas, I'd have to run it past their R&D group. And then it was like, okay, depending on how good your idea is, then it's like, we'll either move on with it or not move on with it. And they have the money to back it, which is cool. But for the average worker there, they weren't coming up with new badass ideas,
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Post Malone has a house in Utah. I was reading something on him the other day.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and it was he's got some like badass in like true Post Malone fashion. He's like, yeah, man, it's pretty dope to like wait out the apocalypse here. But I saw before he built it or bought it, there was some quote. They're like, why Utah? And he was like, man, Utah is just like, he's like, you go out into the sticks. He's like, you're allowed to like have suppressors on your guns, on your hip. You can just walk into Walmart. He was like, fucking cowboy shit. And I was just like,
yeah, dude, like, for sure.
It's like, fuck yes, I love Post Malone. But yeah, dude, now, did you all ever make anything for like, I guess we can already ask this, but did you all have any like military contracts? Or is it more so just consumer?
They definitely do, but it's just kind of like it's just like building it for anybody else.
Really? Okay.
Like some of the SWAT teams and shit, they had they used our stuff, and it was just like building it for anybody else. Maybe a little bit more special treatment, just because it's like, let's make sure these go out first.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Now, is there like, what's like the biggest like, this is kind of a stupid question. I don't even know how like a suppressor works. To me, it's black magic. It like you put it on and it's just less loud. Is it just?
So it's kind of like how your car exhaust is.
Sure.
It's got these things called baffles that are like cone shaped, and so you put all these cone shaped pieces together, and then like weld all those, have the cap, and that's like basically just your suppressor, And that's what makes it quiet, is those baffles. And it's just like your car exhaust.
Okay, fair enough. With welding, what is like, I don't know, like, so let's say like you didn't have to do it for money. So you just you came across $1 billion and you could do whatever you want with it. Granted, you'd probably take time just to not do it because it's your job. But like eventually, I imagine you'd come back to it. What is it that you would do? Like, if you could do anything with it, like, not for money, not for boss, not for like job security. Let's say you're just fucking rolling in it. You just got like Bezos cash. Like,
I would definitely do some custom stuff, like for motorcycles or like some kind of off-road. It'd be something with vehicles. I love that kind of shit. But I also like doing kind of like ornamental stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely like that, like doing custom, like I've built a few tables for myself and just stuff like that, just pieces of furniture. And I love that because it's like you build it so it's just flawless.
Yeah,
it's going to be outlast any IKEA piece of shit. It's just that it looks cool, you know?
Yeah, man.
So like that kind of stuff, I absolutely love it. So like if I could do that all day, I would for sure have, you know, little projects like that to keep me busy for sure.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, man, there's something about like making something for yourself that it's like, even if the thing itself doesn't have any spectacular function or better than anything you can buy, there's something very oddly fulfilling about like that you made it, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Like in college, my friends and I had this thing in our attic at UGA. We called it the Zen Den. And it was this, we had one of our friends could like tie-dye anything. He would always sell shit at festivals. So we had him just tie-dye a bunch of tapestries. And we built this, like, it was, we joked around calling it the opium den, but it was just for like, it was for smoking pot because we didn't want to, because, you know, Georgia's like, they have like 1800s laws. So it was like, if you like smoke pot, you know, it's the equivalent of like killing a baby or just like shooting up a school. It's like, you're the devil. So we're like, we can't have it like reeking out into like our house. We built the Zen den. And it was up in the attic, and like, it was so badass, but it was badass because we made it. It was like, we took the tapestries and it was 360 degrees. So the ceiling was tapestries, the floor was tapestries, the walls were, the whole thing was just psychedelic as shit. And like, on the surface, if you just looked at it for what it was an unconditioned room in an attic in Georgia. Like, it's like whoop-de-fuck. Like, there's nothing, but it was because we made it. There was always just like, I can't really put my finger on it, but it was always just like the most fulfilling. Like, we had a room to go smoke in that we made, and it was full of like little trinkets and shit. We'd have like, none of us are artists, but we'd have like drawing pads up there. We had like kinetic sand. We had like Legos, and it was just going up there and you just create. And it was
right, for sure.
It was always so like wildly fulfilling that like something that you could go buy. You know, or the other thing is like everything had to come from thrift stores. That was the rule. It had to come from a thrift store. So we'd have these like little fat like coffee tables. We had one of those tables that has like, you know, the glass panel over it. And so what we did is we took like a wall-sized map and we put it under the glass. So whenever you were like rolling a blunt or something, you kind of just learned geography, and you'd have like different little areas. Cool. Yeah, like I still know. Alert Nunavut, that's the northernmost inhabited town in the world. But like, yeah, you just learn little shit because it was like, and then you could just like shift the map, and it was always just like, and we had like these weird little like, we had this little like bookshelf, and we had this like little like leather bound notebook, and whenever we'd like trip, we'd take like minutes. But it was just like, it got to a point where like everything in there was created by us. And it was nothing that like you couldn't go to IKEA and get for $100 and furnish a whole room. But I still remember it. I mean, this was back in 2014. But like, there was something that was so fulfilling about, it was something we made and that like you couldn't get anywhere else because it was just, you know, it's like a tree. Like, again, no one designed the tree. It's just, you find a tree with like a knot in it and roots and weird branches, and it's just like, it's beautiful because it's so unique and so imperfect. I imagine that's what you can get, not to say that your work isn't perfect, but yeah, it came out terrible. But like the tables you make, I feel like there's something about it like that. It's like, it's nothing you couldn't go get, but it's like, I fucking made this, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And just to have, you know, you can put your own spin on it. That's the best part. You don't have anyone telling you, you know, it has to be made like this or whatever. You can make your own design. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about like making a business with that? Or do you fear that you would grow to hate it? Because it would be like, you'd be making,
I actually recently quit welding full time, probably like in February.
Okay.
I had a pretty bad injury, and it hurts to do my old job, like especially what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty heavy duty kind of stuff with the construction side of it. And so I quit. I have a really cush job now, but
fuck yeah.
Now it's just like, I don't know. I still do it every once in a while just because I do like it, but like to do it on my own, do my own shop, I don't think I could do it.
You don't think you could, or you don't think you'd want to?
I don't think I could. Like, it's crazy because it just ages you terribly. Like, construction as a whole ages you terribly, dude.
Yeah.
When you're working with your body every day and like kind of getting beat up a little bit, it starts to build up, and it definitely ages.
That's true.
My brother is 7 years older than me, and of course I wasn't the healthiest either. I'm just drinking like crazy, just being a complete dickhead. But we would go places just like, oh yeah, your little brother. It's like, my little brother, he's 7 years older than me, dude.
Oh,
like,
Jesus Christ.
God.
Dude. Oh, Jesus. Oh, fucking Christ.
And so, like,
Jesus.
To do it on my own, I don't know, if I had, like, employees, it would be fine,
Yeah.
But at that point, that's a pretty big shop to have.
Yeah.
Employees, full-time, and all of that.
Fuck that, yeah. You couldn't do employees. I don't know why I'm saying you couldn't. I'm clearly projecting my own wants and desires on this. It's
well, no, and like that's the thing. I mean, you could, but it's just, again, I'd have to start by myself, and I just can't really hack it like I used to.
I believe in you. You just, dude. It's like what Alan Watts said, the philosopher that died in 1972. I fucking love Alan Watts. They actually used his voice on like the commercial for the newest Xbox, the Xbox Series X. It's
right on.
Yeah, I don't know if you game at all, but like that thing is it's apparently the next series of game systems are just gonna be fucking ridiculous, like 8K gaming. It's gonna be insane.
Right, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, but the Microsoft like YouTube commercial for it was like they used his thing because it was saying like the games are so real you can get lost in them, but he had the saying of what would you do if you could dream any dream you wanted to at night? And he's like, let's say you were God. What would you do? He's like, well, the first night, he's like, and let's say 8 hours of sleep is 8 decades of living. He was like, the first night, what would you do? He was like, you'd go straight to like pleasure. It'd just be, sleep with any woman in the world you want, do every drug you want without ever getting like sick or dying or overdosing, buffets all day, every day. It's like pure pleasure. He's like, and you'd probably do that for like a couple weeks. You'd probably do like a couple millennia of just blinding pleasure. He was like, but you'd satiate that eventually. He's like, and then you'd go on like journeys, and you'd fight like a dragon, or I don't know, SEAL Team 6. You'd go kill Bin Laden, or you'd be James Bond. And he was like, and they'd be, you'd be Tom Brady. Obviously, he didn't say Tom Brady, but he was like, you would be Tom Brady or Michael Jordan. He's like, you'd go do adventures. He's like, and then you would start to do like scary shit where like you weren't necessarily in charge. Like maybe you had to break out of prison, or he's like, maybe you'd be in like a concentration camp, or someone would be trying to murder you. And he's like, oh, it'd be a thriller. He's like, you'd finish up and be like, whew, that one was insane. He's like, and eventually what you would do is you would do the ultimate, and that would be to forget that you were God, to forget that you were dreaming, complete suspension of your powers. And he's like, because it would be so anxiety inducing. He's like, you'd think it is all for real. And then you die, and you wake up and you go, oh it was all just a dream. And he's like, and that's where you are right now. He's like, you're just playing your little game. He's like, that you just suspended everything. Anyway, that's on the commercial for the new Xbox. They used Alan Watts. But point being, I fucking love Alan Watts, if you can't tell. But he had a thing where he was like, granted, it's pretty idyllic and romantic and never really translates that well, but fuck, I'll go with it anyway. He would always say, like, he'd have, like, do like lectures with, like, young people and be like, like, what do you want to be? Like, you want to be a writer, a poet, whatever, you ride horses. And they'd always be like, yeah, but there's no money in that. Like, I can't just start. And he's like, well, what you do is, like, you would do it on end. You would do the thing you love because you love it. You would just do it all the time. He's like, eventually you become a master. And he's like, and then you can charge a fee for it. He's like, that's the only way you can ever like start this stuff. So
Right.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, you know, those little like successful businesses you see on Instagram where it's like people, you know, glass blowers, or in your case, making like fucking crazy metal tables and shit. Like that stuff only ever starts because you look at it and you're like, that, well, of course that guy has a business. He's so good. And it's like,
Right.
well, he wasn't always good. He did it so long that he became so good, they start charging. And then it gets this
Right.
facade of, oh, well, he, you know, he's a professional. He charges money for it. And it's like, but that's not how he started. I'm not sure where I was going with that. I think I'm trying to convince you to start your own business against your will. That's not very cool of me. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think that's how you got to just, you know, whatever the fuck it is. Maybe don't even like take commissions. Maybe it's just like, this is what I make and this is what's for sale. Today I made, you know, little like butterfly wind chimes out of wrought iron. Tomorrow I might make a coffee table. There's no
Right.
there's no submissions, there's no suggestion box, there's nothing. You're like, this is just fucking Scott's welding, fuck off. Like that's your company.
Yeah, man. I mean, that would actually be pretty dope. That's right up my alley, you know?
Dude, yeah, just or no, there are suggestions, but like they never know if you read them or not, and you never respond. I'll do that one. I won't do that one. Just take the free influx of ideas and be like, I may or may not do that. I don't know, man. I think that's how that badass shit starts. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
there's some guy that makes like metal flags. Just, you know, what a
Out
weird,
of like a plasma table or something.
a what? I don't know, a plasma table?
It's just like a way to cut out metal. It's like a kind of like a torch,
Okay.
you know? A lot of guys do that, and it's crazy. Like they make a killing off of, because most times it's a computer program,
Mm-hmm.
and you can cut out all sorts of cool shit. Like whatever's on the program, it can cut it out into metal.
Mm.
And so people are selling like just yard ornaments and just shit for like $50-$60, and it cost him basically nothing, you know?
Yeah.
A little bit of time and of course the machine. But
Yeah. Well, no, but that's what they're selling though. Is they're selling the time it took to learn that. It's like
Right.
It's like Picasso. Story about Picasso scribbling on a napkin, and he went to throw it away, and some lady in the cafe was like, "Don't throw that away. Like, can I buy that from you?" And he said, "Sure, $60,000." And she said, "What?
Oh
You
my
just
God.
you said you just scribbled that on a napkin. It took you 5 minutes." And he said, "No, ma'am, it took me 60 years." Because that's how long it took him. So it's like,
True.
that's what you could sell, man. You don't want IKEA shit. You don't want, you know, you can just go buy one thing and it's, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like a Salt Life sticker or, you know, the Punisher skull. It's cool at first,
Right.
but then everyone has it, man. People crave unique shit when they have any remotely disposable income. It's also, in a sense, its own flex because you can have this thing that no one else has.
For sure.
That's what you're selling, man. Sure, yeah, the scraps cost, you know, it's fucking scrap metal. But, you know, if you could make, like, I don't know. I have no idea. But if you could make, like, if you could make, like, a weed grinder, you could just fucking put whatever. You could make, like, a plasma cut of, like, Rick and Morty on the front of it or something, you know? Or, like,
Right, for sure.
yeah, or, like, Marilyn Monroe and, like, JFK, like, you know, middle fingers up or something. That's crazy shit that people like, though. It's,
Right.
yeah, man. I don't know. My dog's going crazy. Are you okay with doing like 15 more minutes? And then I gotta go.
Yeah, for sure.
My dog's
For sure.
my dog's 17, blind and deaf, and he gets anxiety attacks, and I can just hear him howling.
Damn.
Yeah, he's old. I remember holding him, watching the news that the U.S. was invading Iraq.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, man. He's on his third presidency. He's fucking old as shit. But yeah, man. But I was gonna say about the flags. There's some guy that makes flags and was just selling them on Instagram, and I guess he finally made it because he's like, yeah, this is my best piece, and it's the flag behind Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience. It's
yeah.
It's like, but that's how he made it. That's how he started. And he got up to a point that Rogan was like, I want that flag. But it's like, dude, that's how it starts. is I don't know why I've clearly like chosen to like try to convince you to start your own welding business. I personally don't give a fuck, but clearly I'm going on a jihad to make you start your own business. I don't know why I'm doing it. I have no interest in it. I don't know why I'm like assaulting you to do this. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, dude, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea either, you know?
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying, man. You gotta don't set out with the idea that that's what you're doing. Just like make it on the side. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like that's what this podcast is. It's like I do this on like I'm taking online graphic design courses, and I was like I'm just do the podcast on the side. If it becomes more interesting and like interesting people come across my path, I'll have them on. But it's not like well, I'm gonna hit these different like audiences and these different demographics, and if I can do here are my growth charts and sponsored by Pepsi, and no, it's just I don't know. I think if you did it on the side and it was just like I don't know, you did it for like a year, just kind of start with like a little collection of shit. I don't know how long it takes to weld something. Like I don't know.
Just depends.
Yeah. Whether you're making some huge fucking table or like wind chimes or whatever. And then you'd like, I don't know, kind of amass like a little collection of trinkets. And then just start posting them online. Post them on Reddit. Be like, this is how much it is. Dude, I guarantee you someone will buy it. Yeah,
I mean, I'm like totally game for that.
Yeah. I mean, don't feel obligated. I don't know why. Today I've chosen Scott's making making a fucking silencing or a fucking welding company, and he's not going to leave this podcast until he does it. But yeah, it's yeah, man. So if you could do like, can you do those plasma things? The plasma, what'd you call it? Plasma table?
So I actually don't have that kind of equipment, but I mean, it's one of those things where you could go out and buy, grade, like ground level grade equipment, or get a full on shop quality piece,
Yeah.
And I don't know, kind of like just from doing little side projects, it's crazy how much you end up buying things like that. It's just like, well, for this little project, this tool would be fucking awesome,
Yeah.
So I'll buy that, and then I'll buy this.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, you kind of do just become like your own shop, you know?
Yeah. Dude, you got to do it, man. You got to do it. Yeah. I'm clearly getting excited and living vicariously through you with something that I'm going to have zero input in or do zero of the heavy lifting.
Right.
Yeah. So another thing I was thinking, like, what is the most like expensive welding? What is like the upper tier? What is like the iPhone Pro, or like the Bugatti? What is the?
I would say, and like I don't really know, but if I were to guess, it'd probably be something like titanium welding for like NASA or something like that. Like I'm sure that does not come cheap.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what the SR-71 Blackbird, that spy plane from the 60s? Yeah, dude, that thing, they had to make it out of titanium because it would go so fast that the structural integrity would start to decrease because it was like start to melt. And
right.
Yeah, so the whole thing had to be machined out of titanium, and they had to create all that's why it was so expensive. They had to create all new tools and techniques because no one knew how to fucking machine titanium. Yeah, right. Man, that is the upper tier. Fun fact about that, we didn't have enough titanium in the United States to build the fleet of them, and it was the middle of the Cold War. So the CIA made a couple front companies and purchased all the titanium from the Soviet Union. And then
my God.
Yeah, and then we brought it back here and made spy planes to go spy on them. Yeah, get fucked. But yeah, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Dude, I'm sorry. My dog is I know you can't hear it, has been howling. I'm going to have to cut this podcast short and go take care of him. He's driving me crazy. I'm sorry. Yeah,
no worries, bro.
Yeah. You can't hear him?
No, I can't really
Dude,
hear.
Jesus Christ, he's howling like a werewolf. But yeah, man, thanks for doing it, and sorry I had to cut it short. Yeah, thank you very much for doing it and entertaining my stupid fucking questions.
Yeah, dude,
man.
no worries.
Yeah, dude. You're absolutely gonna start your welding company, right?
Well, we'll see. Keep you fucking posted.
Yeah,
maybe
dude.
6 months from now.
Yeah,
I'll have a cool little shop or something.
We're on episode 91. I'm gonna bring you back on episode 200. That should be 6 months from now. And if you don't have a company going, dude, I'm going to verbally assault you on my podcast.
All right, challenge accepted.
Do it, man. Prove me wrong. All right, brother. Thank you so much for doing it, dude. Take care.
Yeah, no worries.
Stay safe. Peace.
All right, peace.